Welcome everybody to The World is a Mess, and I just want to steampunk it. This is episode 64. This is June 4th, 2022. I'm your host, Steampunk Star Raisin. I'm here in North Hollywood, California, USA. And I'm here with my co-host, Daniel Bertizan in Bellwood, Ontario, Canada.
Yay,
So today is the 40th anniversary of Mullets in Space, Star Trek Edition, or what most people call it, Rathacon. But yeah, I like to jokingly call it Mullets in Space. But yeah, so what's on your mind? I know you had talked about you wanted to do a cast today because you wanted to talk about the 40th anniversary of Rathacon.
Yeah, wow, it's the 40th anniversary. Wow, this is really, congratulations, Rathacon. You made it this far, and it's really cool. And I hope they release something special for today. I haven't been out yet. I haven't been out yet.
Yeah, I haven't. I know that they have it on Blu-ray. Go to Amazon, Star Trek 2. They do have a Blu-ray edition of Rathacon, but I don't think that's any different than any of the other original versions, because like the let's see, I don't know if there's a director's cut. I would have heard about it, I think, if there had been a director's cut. Oh, there is a director's cut. There's a Blu-ray. Okay, it's a 2015 version though. There is a director's cut of Rathacon 2015 version, Blu-ray edition, $12.12. But I don't think they've released a new version of it. I think it's pretty impressive that they released a new version of Star Trek the Motion Picture. But last time there was some confusion in this podcast, in this video stream, YouTube. I wasn't quite sure on my facts, but I found out by going to Target the other day that the 4K Blu-ray 2022 version of Star Trek the Motion Picture from 1979, the new director's cut, the new re-edit that includes improved color correction and improved special effects, that version has only been released on Paramount Plus, so you have to have a subscription to Paramount Plus to watch it. It's not on any other service right now except for Paramount Plus, but they are going to release a hard copy come September. So Star Trek the Motion Picture 1979 Blu-ray edition, 4K director's cut with improved special effects and improved color balance won't be released until September. Right now, all the versions that I've seen on Amazon are the 2001 version, the 2001 re-edit, which is still not a complete re-edit. But yeah, I don't see any plans to release. I mean, they released a director's cut of Rathacon in 2015, and it'd be interesting to see what the differences are with the director's cut of Rathacon and the original Rathacon. But I'm sure that there might be some more scenes that were cut from the original that were included. I thought Rathacon's a good film, but Rathacon is not my favorite Star Trek movie. My favorite Star Trek movie is Star Trek First Contact because I love the Borg. I love the Next Generation cast the best. Rathacon, I would say, is probably my fourth favorite movie. I would say First Contact is my favorite. And then Star Trek Generations is my second favorite. And then I would say Star Trek the Motion Picture is my third favorite. And I would say Rathacon is my fourth favorite film. But that's still saying a lot because there was 4 original series Star Trek film, or no, 6 original series, 4 Next Generation series Star Trek films, and then there was the Abrams films, the Kelvin timeline films, for a total of 3. So there was a total of 13 Star Trek films. And hey, maybe that's why the Abrams films kind of bombed at the box office, because, or at least by modern standards, because it was number 13. But yeah, I mean, I thought it was a good film, but it's more of an action film than it is a sci-fi film. I mean, it's sci-fi action, and you can tell that it's more of a bottle show, because the majority of the film, it takes place on the bridge of the Reliant and the bridge of the Enterprise, and there's very little exploring, and so it feels a little bit like a bottle show. And there's, of course, William Shatner's traditional overacting, Khan, Khan, and they've tried to remake Wrath of Khan with Star Trek Into Darkness, and they did a lousy job of remaking it. And they sort of did a soft remake of Wrath of Khan in Star Trek Nemesis, and they did a lousy job with that as well, because the plot devices were very similar in Star Trek Nemesis as they were in Wrath of Khan. Wrath of Khan is definitely the superior film because it has the original plot thread. But yeah, to me, it is a little bit dated, with the 80s hairstyles. Like, Khan has like a mullet. Most of the cast and crew, they look like like an early 80s glam rock band, on the bridge of the Reliant. But it was still a pretty cool film. And I think the problem is people tend to have rose-colored glasses when it comes to reviewing Wrath of Khan. I actually haven't done an official review, but I would give it an 8 on a scale of 1 to 10. I still think that Wrath of Khan has some flaws, like the overacting of William Shatner. I don't like the over-militarization of Starfleet. This is not what Gene Roddenberry wanted. That really wasn't necessary. And then I also feel like that it is a little bit dated. It does feel like an 80s sci-fi movie because of the mullet hairstyles. But other than that, overall, I would say it's a great film, and it is my 4th favorite Star Trek film. Like I said, it's my favorite is Star Trek First Contact. My 2nd favorite is Star Trek Generations. My 3rd favorite is Star Trek The Motion Picture. And then my 4th favorite would be Wrath of Khan. So it is still a great film. Actually, I'd probably give it more of an 8.5 on a scale of 1 to 10.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, what's your opinion? That's your favorite film, correct, of Star Trek?
Yeah, my favorite TNG film is First Contact, and I liked it. It was a nice episode, nice movie.
Did you like any of the Kelvin timeline movies? There were 3 of them.
I liked the first movie. The first movie was good. It had time travel in it. I love time travel.
Yeah, but it made no sense. Like, the Romulans don't look like Romulans. They look like white supremacists with their tattoos. They look like skinheads. Their hair is shaved and they got a million tattoos. They don't look like regular Romulans.
It's like,
and then what was it with the ship? The ship looked very Borg-like. It didn't look like a Romulan ship of any known configuration that I've seen. Now, I know that the Countdown comic, which was originally supposed to be canon, which they later retconned in Star Trek Picard season 1. In the Countdown comic, they had explained that the Romulans had incorporated Borg technology, and that's why the ship looked really Borg-like. But they didn't explain it. This drives me bonkers with modern TV shows and modern movies. It's lazy writing. They just insert stuff. They don't explain it. There's no logical or rational explanation. And it makes no sense from a narrative or a story perspective, because you're kind of alienating the audience, or at least you're alienating the hardcore fans. Maybe it might appeal to casual fans who are not familiar with Star Trek. Because I remember I had an ex-girlfriend who saw 2009 Star Trek, and I remember I was having a debate when I got out of 2009 Star Trek. I was having a debate with this Barbie girl. I can't even remember her name, but I don't even really know her. But she was like very attractive but very plastic, and she liked the film, and she liked it from an entertainment perspective. And I was trying to explain to her, I said, yeah, but you obviously haven't seen any of the original Star Trek. This continuity wise makes no sense. And she's like, no, I hadn't seen any of this, the original Star Trek. It was a great film. So yeah, I didn't agree with the Barbie girl that I had a debate with. This was in person right after the film of Star Trek 2009. But I guess for, you know, that film was made for people who weren't casual Star Trek fans. That they were trying to introduce Star Trek and do a soft reboot for a general audience. But I don't think it quite worked. You know, that led to Star Trek Into Darkness, which is widely criticized. A lot of fans put that as the worst Star Trek film, even supplanting Star Trek Nemesis and Star Trek V. And I would agree that Star Trek Into Darkness was the worst Star Trek film. Star Trek Beyond was probably the best of the Kelvin timeline movies, but I still thought it sucked. And I still thought it had a lot of plot holes. It made no sense that, I mean, it was cool to see a legacy starship design, but the ship had been, you know, crash landed on the planet for 100 years and had been in a state of disrepair for 100 years. And it makes no sense that without any spare parts or outside support that they were able to whip the ship back into shape relatively easy and get this 100-year-old starship back into gear. And I thought the villain was kind of weak, and the villain didn't make any sense. But yeah, getting back to Wrath of Khan, yeah, it was a very good film. It was Paramount's attempt to, is everything okay? You keep looking away.
No, it's okay.
It was Paramount's attempt to turn Star Trek into Star Wars. I think it's the closest they ever come, but it still didn't make as much money as the motion picture. It made $4 million less, although it was more profitable than the motion picture because it only cost $11 million production budget, and it grossed $78 million, where Star Trek the motion picture had a $35 million production budget and it grossed $82 million. So critically, from a critical standpoint and from a production cost standpoint, Star Trek Wrath of Khan was considered more successful, but it still failed to, their target goal was they wanted, like Star Wars, I think in the first year of release, made about 400 million domestically. And so they still wanted it to be able to compete with Star Wars, and it didn't do anywhere near as good as Star Wars. And so I think that's the problem, is when you try to take Star Trek and you try to turn it into an action franchise, you try to make it more Star Wars like, it doesn't always get you more of an audience. Star Trek is a very niche audience. And I think Star Trek is more geared towards television series. But to me, everything that I've seen of Star Trek, what I call new Trek and what most fans are calling new Trek, that's anything in the Kelvin timeline, any streaming series that came out after 2005 sucks. But like I don't like Star Trek Picard so far, although I am optimistic for season 3. I don't like Discovery. Discovery was terrible. I had to stop. I tried to watch Discovery, and then it was somewhat entertaining during season 1, but even though they had continuity errors and the Klingons looked ugly as hell and didn't look like Klingons, and they just looked weird. They looked like cosmic space turds. And then season 2, where that one guy, he's at section 31, and he's got a Klingon and hidden inside his bones. That makes no freaking sense. That was just really stupid.
That was bad writing.
What now?
That was really bad writing.
Yeah, it was just really bad writing. It shows you that the writers were lazy and they didn't do their research as far as continuity, and it makes no sense that you could hide a Klingon in your bones. It makes absolutely no sense at all. And and it insulted my intelligence. And despite the fact that Aaron Mont, or what I'm pronouncing his name correctly,
Uh,
Mount,
Anson,
Aaron
Anson Mount.
Anson Mount, sorry, Anson Mount. Despite Anson Mount being charming and charismatic and doing a pretty good portrayal of Captain Pike, I stopped watching halfway through season 2 because it was giving me brain hurt just to watch Star Trek Discovery midway through season 2. I couldn't stand it anymore, and I'm like, I'm not going to even watch this anymore. It's just total crap. And Star Trek Picard had some good episodes, but mostly season 1 and season 2 was crap. Strange New Worlds, it's kind of okay, but it feels like watered down Star Trek. It feels like Strange New Worlds feels like they took the Star Trek, the original series, did a photocopy of it, took the photocopy, wrote a bunch of edits to it that make no sense, and then tried to turn it into the Love Boat in space. And so, yeah, that's basically what Star Trek has devolved to, is Love Boat in space, where Spock has got a girlfriend who's constantly visiting him on the Enterprise. And the hijinks episode 5 was really ridiculous with the fact that they so easily changed bodies. That it made no sense, and there was no precedent for it like that. To make it that easy, it was just sloppy writing, and I just thought it was really kind of goofy, but not in a good way. And so I have not been impressed. But you know what new Star Trek that I've been impressed with that just came out?
What?
Orville: New Horizons is probably the best Star Trek show since 2005.
Yeah.
Orville: New Horizons. Seth MacFarlane managed to resurrect his show, but because of the delays with COVID, they have basically renamed the show from just the Orville. It's now called Orville: New Horizons. And I saw the season premiere of Orville: New Horizons because there hasn't been a season of Orville since 2018. They had gotten dropped from the original TV network and was no longer airing on TV. And then Hulu picked it up. And then they started filming in late 2019. And they had filmed about 5 episodes. And then it got canceled, it didn't. The production got canceled temporarily because of COVID. And then they resumed filming in early 2021. And it has now been released. And it makes sense because there's such a large gap between the original Orville and Orville: New Horizons. Orville: New Horizons is a lot more serious, but this is Seth MacFarlane's interpretation of Next Generation, his fandom to Next Generation, his fandom to Gene Roddenberry's original vision. And I'm like, why can't Star Trek be like Orville? It is so fucking good. I mean, I usually I don't swear, but man, I was so passionate. I was blown away with the season premiere of Orville: New Horizons, the Electric Sheep episode. It was an hour and 1 minute long. And Seth MacFarlane was right. He said that they were going to have an increased budget due to Hulu picking it up. Hulu was going to pay for increased special effects, and it looks superior to Strange New Worlds in every way. The special effects are wonderful. They went with a darker, more serious tone to Star Trek and Orville: New Horizons. Electric Sheep dealt with the issue of suicide, which they had never dealt with that issue, that social commentary issue in Star Trek. But yeah, it was a really good episode because Isaacs, this is following right after the war with the Kalon. That was a 2-part episode in the season finale of season 2 of Orville. And that was a really, really good 2-parter episode. And the Kalon civilization, which is artificial, it's basically a civilization of robots. And they almost annihilated the Union fleet. The Union fleet suffered very heavy losses. And this episode is in the aftermath of the battle with the Kalon, and Isaacs basically commits suicide because he gets a lot of hate from the crew. And so one could argue that he's processing emotion, but maybe indirectly and not in the same way. And then his impact on committing suicide, on how it negatively impacted the crew. But I don't know if you want me to give you spoilers, but there's an actual resolution at the end of the episode.
No, it's okay. It's okay.
Okay, so they end up finding a way to revive his brain. They end up finding a way because basically there's like a programming backdoor code built into Isaac's mechanical or into his robot brain, and it requires repairing structures on a sub atomic level, and it requires somebody with really good spatial skills. And so they introduce a new ensign in this episode. She's actually pretty hot. I can't remember the ensign's name, but she hates Isaacs because she was transferred from another Union Fleet ship, and she lost her best friend because basically the ship was going supercritical and was about to explode because the quantum drive was overloaded and it was about to explode, and the escape hatch was jammed, and that meant that her friend had to stay behind to launch the escape hatch and thus die with the ship that blew up. And she lost her best friend, and because Isaacs was a Kalon and they barely survived the war with the Kalon in the last season, she has a grudge against Isaacs, and this kind of leads to Isaacs committing suicide. But then she's able to make good by she helps repair Isaacs, and she helps bring him back online. And I thought it was a really good episode, and the acting was really well done. The special effects were really well done. The Orville they have new like fighter shuttlecraft that they introduced. They were experimenting with that technology, and they were doing repairs and retrofit to the Orville. So this is everything that Star Trek should have been. And Seth MacFarlane gets it. He just gets it. He knows that he can't call it Star Trek because he would be in copyright violation. But this is Seth MacFarlane's love song fandom to the original Star Trek. And did you know that Seth MacFarlane, I didn't realize this until somebody, Egotastic Funtime, who is, he mostly reviews only Orville, but he does review Star Trek as well. But Egotastic Funtime on YouTube, he showed I didn't know that Seth MacFarlane actually played a minor supporting character in Star Trek Enterprise, and he had he had some speaking roles, but he was only in a couple episodes of the original Enterprise. So I thought that was pretty cool that Seth MacFarlane is now captain of the Orville, and he was originally an ensign. He played a minor character in engineering who worked under Commander Tucker in Star Trek Enterprise. So that was pretty cool. But yeah, this checks all the boxes: an optimistic utopian view of the future, humor balanced with some dark thread lines, and tackling difficult to talk about social issues like suicide, mental illness, depression. It's just really, really well acted. The chief medical officer on Orville, it's been a while since I'd seen Orville. It's been a couple years, so I'm going to have to get reacquainted with all the characters' names. But the chief medical officer who had previously dated Isaacs, because Isaac wanted to do like an experimental date because he wanted to see what it was like to date a human. And her son does graffiti in the Astromex lab, and did graffiti with murderer, and then they find out that it was her son, and then they let her son off with a warning. And then once Isaacs commits suicide, her son feels really bad because he feels bad that he called Isaacs a murderer, and he feels responsible for Isaac's death. And so now he's conflicted. And this was really, really well done. Really, really well written. And it tackles a mature social issue that not even the original series or Next Generation tackled, which is suicide, mental illness, depression, PTSD. Because there's a lot of flashback scenes You get to see some of the perspective of the battle with the Kazon or Kalon or Kazon. You get to see the battle with the Kalon. I think it's Kalon. Got it.
Yeah, Kalon.
Kalon. I feel like an idiot. I need to Google it real quick. Yeah, Kalon. The battle of the Kalon. You get to see, like, you know, you get introduced to a new ensign on the bridge. She's like a comms officer, and you know, she has PTSD because she's suffering from the aftermath, and you get to see from her perspective what she went through on her starship as it was getting destroyed and as she made it to the escape pod. You get to see one of the children on the ship, all the PTSD that he has just from the Kalon attack, and you know how they all nearly died in that war. And then there's also a minor subplot where they encounter a Kalon ship, and the Kalon ship immediately attacks the Orville, and they barely survive. And so it has action. It's also a little bit of drama because they're in the beginning of the episode, they're doing a retrofit. Okay, we're running out of time, so we're going to have to wrap up. The meeting will end in 10
Let's talk
minutes.
about, okay, for the last topic, what did you think about episode 3 of Kenobi? Did you like it? I loved it.
Episode 3
Yeah,
of what?
of Kenobi.
Yeah, it was actually better because they brought back Darth Vader, and the first 2 episodes were kind of sad and pathetic, and it just kind of portrayed. I didn't like that Kenobi wouldn't help out a fellow Jedi. I just thought that felt like it didn't feel like Kenobi. I mean, I know that he's basically a criminal. He's a wanted fugitive, but and then I didn't like how they retconned where he left the planet. But you know, and I was a little conflicted with them retconning another duel, but apparently Kenobi is so out of practice that he's almost forgotten how to fight with a lightsaber, and Darth Vader is just toying with him. And Darth Vader wants him to suffer like he suffered by burning Kenobi. And I thought that was really, it impressed me with the special effects, and it was really well done. And bringing Vader more into the episode made it more interesting. They still haven't explained if the Sith Inquisitor or the Grand Inquisitor is dead or not. It makes no sense because supposedly this is the same Grand Inquisitor. Hello?
Yeah, sorry it took me so long.
Hey, we're doing a live stream, me and Daniel. You want to be in the last few minutes of the live stream?
Yeah, sure, why not?
Okay.
Sure.
Anne, my girl Rock Ann, she is here joining us for the live stream. When we had done earlier in the episode, I did a review of Wrath of Khan. We talked about the 40th anniversary at the Wrath of Khan and how it was surprising that they haven't had a special director's cut re-release of Wrath of Khan for the 40th anniversary, although they did have a director's cut that came out in 2015. And I did a review of Orville New Horizons, season 1, episode 1. They brought back the Orville on Hulu, and Electric Sheep episode was really good. It blew me away. It's everything that I hoped Star Trek would be, but it's Seth MacFarlane Trek. And because Seth MacFarlane, you could tell, was a really big fan of Next Generation. He was a really big fan of Star Trek in general. And so he's doing everything. Seth MacFarlane is doing everything. But anyway, and then we moved on to talking about Obi-Wan Kenobi episode 3, which I thought was a really good episode because they brought back Darth Vader, and you had a rematch between Darth Vader and Kenobi is been on the run for 10 years, and he's very rusty with his lightsaber, and he almost gets killed by Darth Vader. But you can kind of tell that Darth Vader is toying with him, and he tortures Kenobi by burning him on the arm. And yeah, it was a really good episode of Kenobi, so I'm optimistic. They didn't really explain what happened to the Grand Inquisitor. He seems to have died, but it's supposedly the same Grand Inquisitor that was in Star Wars Rebels. So I don't know if this is a retcon, and this means that none of the cartoons are canon, which would suck if that means none of the cartoons are canon. is this a different parallel timeline? I know they've only tackled parallel timelines a little bit in Star Wars Rebels. What's your opinion, Daniel? You think he's still alive and they're just going to resuscitate him? Or
Yeah, I think I'm hoping that Jason Isaacs is going to be called in, and it's like another Grand Inquisitor. But I mean, I hope they don't revive the guy. Just let him be dead. Let him be in the Force, and that's it.
oh yeah, because he didn't really look like the Grand Inquisitor. He looked kind of goofy, and so the possibilities are this is a different Grand Inquisitor than the one we saw in Rebels. Second possibility is this could be a retcon to where they're just saying that Star Wars Rebels is no longer canon, or which I hope that's not the case. Or this could be an alternate timeline, because I know that didn't they pull Ahsoka out of the alternate timeline? Like she originally died during fighting Darth Vader.
Yeah, I think they got an alternate Ahsoka from an alternate timeline, and even then, they even said that the world between worlds isn't true time travel.
The what world?
The world between worlds isn't real
Well,
time
it's
travel.
not really time travel because you're just traveling to a different universe. You're traveling to a parallel timeline where things are similar, but like if you altered that, so it is sort of time travel, but it's not Back to the Future time travel. So what do you think of Orville, Anne, and what do you think of the Obi-Wan Kenobi series and Strange New Worlds? Oh, we also talked about Strange New Worlds episode 5 and Wrath of Khan. You've seen Wrath of Khan, right? Star Trek Wrath of Khan?
Yeah, I haven't seen Orville yet. Yeah, I've seen Wrath of Khan. Yeah, Khan seems like a pretty menacing villain. In fact, I have a Wrath of Khan joke, but
Well, just tell me your Wrath of Khan joke.
Anybody would get an inside joke that only like you and I would get.
But we got to wrap up because Zoom now with the latest updates only allows me with the free version to do a 40-minute podcast, and we're getting close to 40 minutes.
Oh,
Okay, so do your Wrath of Khan joke, and I'll wrap up. Make it quick.
Oh yeah, it's just an inside joke between you and I. You know that my parents fight a lot, right?
Yeah. Wrath of your
You know
mom.
my mom's like a B word, right?
Yeah.
So my dad's going through the wrath of C word.
C word or B word?
C word, wrath of C word.
Oh, okay.
Because
Okay.
Con and C word, they rhyme.
I got it. But I'm gonna have to wrap this up because I need. Hold on. I gotta wrap up because last time with the new update, it used to be I could do like an hour, but now they've limited it to 40 minutes. And if I don't do my exit line, it's just gonna abruptly cut off, and it's gonna be awkward ending. Anyway, thank you everybody for joining us. This has been The World is a Mess, and I just want the Steampunk Kit, episode 64. And this has been your host, Steampunk Star Raisin. You have a nice day, and I will see you 25 billion years. I will.